The burning sands. The twin suns of the alien planet burned bright in the sky. The sand below shimmered like fire. Every step Jake took felt heavier than the last. His boots sank into the hot sand and his lips were dry. He had not drunk water in almost a day. His canteen was nearly empty. Only a few drops were left. Jake was a human explorer, one of the few who dared to cross the Drazek Desert, a place feared across many galaxies. His ship had crashed the night before during a sandstorm. Now he walked alone under the deadly sun, hoping to find help. His skin was sunburned, and his throat burned worse than fire. Suddenly he saw something strange in the sand ahead. It looked like a body. Part of it was covered with sand, but he saw pale skin that sparkled under sunlight. He slowly walked closer. His heart began to race. It wasn't human. It was a girl, an alien girl, with long silver hair and purple markings on her arms and cheeks. Her skin was glowing, not from health, but from heat. She looked young, maybe close to his age. Jake bent down and touched her shoulder. Her skin was hot. Too hot. "Hey, are you alive?" he asked, gently shaking her. No answer. He checked her breathing. It was weak, barely there. Her lips were cracked. Her body twitched now and then, like it was fighting something inside. Her chest moved up and down slowly, painfully. She looked like she was dying. Jake looked at his canteen, only a few drops left. He looked at her face again. She was a stranger, an alien from a species he didn't recognize. Maybe she was dangerous. Maybe she was an enemy. But right now, she was dying. And Jake couldn't just walk away. He opened the canteen slowly. The last water he had was all he could give. "Here," he said softly. "Don't die." He tilted the canteen and let a few drops fall into her mouth. At first, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, her body jerked and she gasped. Her golden eyes opened wide and locked onto his face. For a second, Jake thought she might attack, but she didn't. Her hand reached up weakly and grabbed his wrist. Her voice was dry and broken. "More, please." Jake hesitated. Then he gave her the rest, all of it. She drank every last drop. Then her body began to calm. The glowing on her skin dimmed slightly and her breathing grew stronger. She closed her eyes again, not unconscious, but resting. Jake sighed and sat beside her. The heat around them was getting worse, and the winds were starting to pick up. A sandstorm might be coming again. They needed shade, but there was none. He looked around and saw a piece of metal sticking out from the sand. Curious, he stood up and walked over. It was a broken wing of an old shuttle, half buried in the dune. Not much, but maybe enough shade to hide under. He returned to the girl, bent down and slowly lifted her. She was light, too light, like she hadn't eaten or drunk in days. She moaned softly as he carried her, but didn't resist. Her head rested against his chest. Jake struggled to walk through the sand, his body shaking from thirst and exhaustion. But he made it to the metal wing and laid her under the shade. Then he sat beside her, back against the hot metal, breathing hard. He looked at her again. She was strange, beautiful, even in this state. Her skin shimmered faintly with energy, and her silver-white lashes fluttered as she slept. Her breathing was stronger now. Her body had cooled down a bit. Suddenly she opened her eyes again. "You," she whispered. "You gave me your water." Jake nodded. "Yeah, you were dying." She looked at him confused. "Why? You don't know me." Jake shrugged. "Didn't have to. You were dying. That's enough." For a moment she stared at him like she couldn't believe his words. Then she whispered, "You don't know what you've done." "What do you mean?" he asked, confused. "My thirst. It's not normal. It's not just dehydration. If it grows, it becomes deadly. For everyone around me." Jake blinked. "Deadly? You mean—" Before she could answer, a sharp growl echoed from behind the dunes. Jake turned quickly. Something was coming, something big, He grabbed the plasma knife from his boot and looked at the alien girl. "We'll talk later," he said. "But first, let's not die out here." The growl came again, closer, louder. Jake gripped his plasma knife tighter, his eyes scanning the dune ridges. The alien girl sat upright now, her eyes glowing gold again. Her breathing had calmed, but the heat radiating from her body returned, stronger than before. "What is that sound?" Jake asked, sweat rolling down his temple. She didn't answer, immediately. Her gaze was fixed on the dune like she already knew what was coming. Then she whispered, "Sand Razor." Jake had heard the name in alien trade stations, a predator that hunts by sound and smell, nearly invisible against sand, long, sharp limbs, and worst of all, it liked heat. "We need to move. Now," she said, standing slowly, wobbling on weak legs. "You're barely able to stand," Jake said, stepping beside her. She placed a hand on his chest. Her skin was still hot, like burning coal. "My body creates heat when I'm weak. That's how it hunts me." Suddenly a flash of movement. Something large slithered across the top of a dune and vanished. Jake's heart skipped a beat. The girl pressed her fingers to the sand. "It's close. We must leave or it will eat both of us." "I have no more water," Jake said, "and you can't outrun anything in this condition." She stared at him. "There is one way, but it's dangerous for you." He raised an eyebrow. "More dangerous than a sand razor?" She held out her glowing hand. "I can pass my heat into your body if you can take it." Jake hesitated. "What happens if I can't?" "You'll burn, from inside." Another growl, this time, behind. The metal wreck. Jake didn't think twice. He grabbed her hand. "Do it." She gasped as a golden light flowed from her skin into his palm. His arm lit up like fire under the skin. His veins glowed orange. He screamed, but didn't let go. Then, suddenly, silence. Jake blinked. The burning stopped. His skin cooled. The girl was breathing hard, but a smile formed on her lips. "It worked." "What did you do?" he asked, stunned. "I gave you heat tolerance. Now the predator won't sense my body. It'll sense yours instead." Jake looked at her, eyes wide. "Wait. What?" Before she could answer, the sand razor struck. It launched from beneath the sand behind them, like a huge scorpion mixed with a snake made of dry rock and spines. But it didn't lunge at her. It aimed for Jake. Jake rolled aside just in time, the creature's claws crashing down where he stood. Sand exploded in all directions. He ran, leading it away from her. The girl shouted, "Run north! There's a cave!" Jake sprinted through the sand, dodging the beast's snapping jaws. The creature followed, locked onto his new heat signature. Every step felt like running on fire. But ahead, he saw the dark shape of rocks. The girl struggled behind him, stumbling, holding her stomach, but she moved. Jake reached the cave first, jumping inside and sliding behind a stone. The creature slammed into the entrance, unable to fit through. The girl fell beside him moments later, shaking and exhausted. The beast let out a furious screech and vanished into the sand. Jake leaned back against the wall, panting. "Well," he said between gasps. "That was insane." She looked at him with wide eyes. "You burned, but did not break. No human has ever accepted my heat and lived." Jake chuckled weakly. "I'm full of surprises." She crawled closer, eyes full of questions. "Why did you do it? You don't even know who I am." Jake looked at her. "I didn't need to. You're alive. That's enough." Silence filled the cave for a moment. Then she whispered, "My name is Reza." "Jake," he said. Reza touched his arm where the glow had faded. "The connection we made, it's not just heat. It's something deeper." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Like a bond?" She nodded. "It doesn't break easily. You carry part of me now." Jake frowned but said nothing. Outside, the twin suns began to dip lower in the sky. The cave filled with shadows. Reza curled beside the rock wall, her body finally at peace. Jake watched her sleep. Even after all this, she still looked like she might vanish, but he wouldn't let that happen, not after what they'd already survived. The cave was dark and quiet, but Jake couldn't sleep. He sat near the entrance, eyes watching the sky as twin moons slowly rose over the desert. Beside him, Reza slept with her back against the stone, her skin no longer glowing, but warm like a resting ember. The heat between them had created a strange bond, something Jake still didn't fully understand. A soft wind blew across the sand outside, and with it came a sound, water dripping. Jake froze. Water? He stood slowly, careful not to wake Reza, and stepped just outside the cave. The desert was still, but again the sound came. Drip, drip, drip. He looked out over the dunes, and there it was. An oasis. Palm trees. A small shimmering pool. Moonlight danced on its surface like silver threads. Jake's mouth went dry at the sight. He turned back. Reza, wake up. She stirred. What is it? There's an oasis, just over the dune. Her eyes widened. That can't be. There's no oasis in this zone. Jake helped her up. I'm seeing it, we don't have to believe, just check. Reza frowned but nodded. They walked carefully across the cool night sand, Jake holding her arm for balance. The air smelled fresher now, and the sound of dripping. Water grew louder. The pool sparkled ahead of them. A tree swayed gently, casting shadows. But something felt off. As they got closer, Jake noticed something strange. The trees weren't quite real. Their leaves didn't rustle, and the water didn't move like real water. It shimmered too smoothly. Reza stopped suddenly. It's a mirage, she said. But not natural. Jake looked at her. What do you mean? She pointed at the ground. See that? He squinted and saw faint lines, like scratches in the sand. Circle patterns, too perfect. It was artificial. Before he could react, the sand beneath them collapsed. Both Jake and Reza fell into a hidden pit, sliding down a smooth tunnel that led underground. They landed hard on a stone floor. Lights blinked, on around them, casting a soft blue glow. The chamber was large and shaped like a dome. Alien symbols glowed on the walls. A strange machine sat in the center, connected to glowing tubes filled with water. Jake stared. This isn't just a trap, this is a water vault. Reza touched the machine. This is ancient technology. It feeds illusions above and pulls travelers in. Those who fall in never leave. Jake stepped closer to one of the tubes. The water inside pulsed with light. But there was something else inside, a shape floating, a body. He gasped. There's someone inside. Reza nodded. Many have fallen for the same trick. Their fluids are harvested to keep the mirage alive. Jake's stomach turned. Suddenly the floor shook. A mechanical voice echoed from above. Unauthorized presence, purge initiated. The doors sealed. Walls began to hum. A metal claw descended from the ceiling, fast and sharp. Jake grabbed Reza and rolled to the side. The claw slammed into the floor where they had stood. They ran, lasers fired from small ports, forcing them to duck and dodge. Jake noticed a hatch on the wall. There! He yelled. They reached it, but it was locked. Reza placed her glowing hand on the panel. I can short it, but I need time. Jake turned back and blocked another claw with his plasma knife, sparks flying. His arm burned from the impact, but he held firm. Finally, the hatch popped open. They dove through, just as the room began to fill with gas. Inside the new tunnel, it was narrow and dark. The glow from Reza's skin lit the way. They crawled for minutes until they reached another chamber. This one was different, it was silent and sacred. A fountain stood in the center, clear water flowing gently into a crystal basin. Around it were carvings, ancient, beautiful, and alien. Reza fell to her knees. This is not part of the trap, she whispered. This is real. This is the source. Jake looked at her. Drink. But she hesitated. This water is meant for bonding, for life sharing. Jake frowned. What does that mean? She looked at him seriously. If I drink it after receiving your heat, the bond between us becomes permanent. I won't just survive, I'll be connected to you. Forever. Jake paused. Will it save you? She nodded. Yes. He stepped closer. Then drink. Reza stared into his eyes for a long time, then bent forward and took a sip. Her body lit up instantly. Her hair floated like it was underwater. Her eyes glowed with fire and starlight. She stood tall, her strength fully returned. The bond had sealed, and the desert would never be the same again. The fountain chamber was quiet, but something had changed. Reza stood still, glowing softly like a star caught in human shape. Her body no longer trembled. Her skin no longer burned. She looked calm, but not ordinary. Her eyes were different now. Older, wiser, connected to something ancient. Jake felt it too. Something inside him pulsed, like a distant echo answering her. Are you okay? He asked, his voice low. She nodded slowly. Yes, but now, everything is different. Before Jake could ask more, a deep rumble shook the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling. The mirage above had collapsed, and now the entire underground vault was beginning to break apart. Time to go! Jake grabbed her hand. They ran through the tunnel again, but this time the path was shaking, breaking beneath them. A large section of the floor gave way behind them, revealing nothing but dark, endless sand. They made it out just in time, diving out of the collapsing pit and rolling into the open night. Jake groaned, holding his ribs. That was close. Reza knelt beside him, placing her warm hand on his chest. You're injured. I've had worse, he said, forcing a smile. But he was lying. His water was gone. His body was failing. The heat from earlier had burned him from the inside more than he realized. His lips were cracked. His heartbeat was slow. Reza looked at him with wide, worried eyes. I need to get you water. There's none left out here, Jake whispered. We're in the middle of a death zone. She stood looking around. There might be a way. Jake's vision blurred. He saw 2 moons in the sky, but they were spinning now. Reza. It's okay. I'd do it again. Giving you the water. No regrets. She knelt beside him, trembling now. You saved me. You gave me your last water, your strength, even risked death to help me awaken. And I can't do the same. Jake smiled. Guess that's the human way. Then he collapsed. Reza panicked. Her hands shook as she touched his forehead. It was burning. He was fading fast. But then, an idea. The bond. She pressed her hand against his chest. Please listen to me, she whispered. She remembered the fountain's sacred rule. If 2 were truly bonded, they could share life. Not just water, not just heat. Essence. Closing her eyes, she focused. Her skin began to glow again, but differently this time. Not gold, but soft blue. Healing energy. Her heartbeat synced with his. And then, she gave. Light poured from her body into his. Not just warmth, but memories, strength, and hydration pulled from deep inside her cells. Jake gasped. His eyes opened. Air rushed into his lungs. His pain lessened. The dizziness cleared, but Reza fell to her knees. You gave me your last water, she said weakly. Now, I've given you my last light. Jake caught her before she fell. No, don't do this. She smiled faintly. You were willing to die for me. Let me be the same. Jake looked around the desert, desperate for a sign, for anything. And then from the distance, a blinking red light, a beacon, a rescue signal. Hope. Jake lifted Reza into his arms and began walking, each step heavy but full of purpose. You're not dying, he whispered. I won't let you. The signal grew brighter, help was close, and he was not giving up. Not after everything. Jake moved through the night like a ghost in the dunes. The red beacon light blinked slowly in the distance, but every step toward it felt heavier. His legs shook, his arms ached, but he didn't stop, not with Reza in his arms. Her body was cold now, too cold. She had given her energy to him. Now, he had to return the favor, with survival. "Just hang on," he whispered. "We're almost there." But the desert was not silent tonight. From the west came the sound of sharp footsteps. Too many. Too fast. Not animal. Dryborn. Reza had mentioned them before. Ancient desert hunters, not truly alive, not fully dead. Creatures of dust, fire, and metal. They followed energy trails. Especially energy like Reza's. They were her people's forgotten enemies. Now, they had returned. Jake heard the first whisper behind him, a deep clicking sound, like bone against bone. Then he saw shapes, tall, thin, wrapped in sand-colored robes. Their eyes glowed faint red beneath torn hoods. Some floated slightly above the ground. Others walked silently, weapons made of fused bone and heat glass in hand. He whispered to Reza, "I think your old enemies are here." Her eyelids fluttered. She coughed weakly. "Dryborn, they smell my life force. They hunt those who carry sacred energy." "You mean me now, too?" She nodded faintly. "They won't stop." Jake looked at the blinking beacon. Still, far then back at the Dryborn, getting closer. He gently lowered Reza behind a broken dune wall and gripped his plasma knife. His hands trembled, but not from fear, from the weight of everything he had to protect. "You'll have to come through me," he muttered. One of the Dryborn stopped and tilted its head. It hissed in a strange voice, ancient and dry like wind, over bones. "You are unworthy of her bond, human." Jake took a step forward, heart pounding. "Maybe, but she chose me, and I'll die before I let you take her." Suddenly, they attacked. 3 rushed him at once, silent and fast. Jake dodged. The first ducked under the second and slashed at the third. His knife cut into the creature's robe, but the body inside turned to ash and wind. Then another appeared behind him. A whip of fire snapped out, cutting across his back. Jake fell, gritting his teeth. He rolled away, stood again, and faced them. Blood dripped from his arm, but he didn't stop. "You don't get to win," he growled. "Not today." One of the Dryborn raised its hand. Energy gathered at its fingertips. Jake raised his knife. But before the blast came, Reza screamed. The scream was not loud, but powerful. A wave of heat burst out from where she lay. The Dryborn paused, backing away slightly. She stood, barely. Her eyes were pure gold now. Her skin shined. She looked like something holy. "I did not survive for you to steal me back," she said, her voice full of fire. "I was reborn by the will of a human," the Dryborn leader hissed. "Then you are no longer one of us. You are condemned." "So be it," Reza replied. She raised her hand, and fire shot out. Jake ducked as the wave of energy hit the Dryborn. 2 disintegrated instantly. The others fled, hissing and fading into the dunes. The desert grew quiet again. Reza collapsed. Jake ran to catch her. "You scared them off," he said, breathing hard. She smiled weakly. "I had enough left. For one last fire." He held her tight. "Let's go finish this." Together, they walked toward the beacon. The red light blinked steadily. A ship was descending in the distance. Help had come. But Jake knew this wasn't over. The Dryborn would return, and the bond between him and Reza, it was stronger now than anything he'd known. The rescue ship hovered just above the dune as the first light of dawn touched the sands. Its engines stirred the desert wind, blowing dust around Jake and Reza as they climbed the hill slowly. Each step a silent battle between strength and exhaustion. Reza leaned on Jake, her body still weak but her eyes focused. The ship's side door opened with a hiss and 2 medtechs rushed out. Human and alien life form detected. The scanner chimed. Jake collapsed to his knees, clutching Reza close. She needs help. She gave up everything to save me. The medtechs looked confused. She's a Class 5 bioform, one of them said. Her kind don't usually bond with humans. Jake barked a tired laugh. Tell her that. Inside the ship, they were placed in separate pods for treatment. Jake tried to resist being separated, but Reza reached for his hand. I'll find you, she whispered. I'll wait, he promised. The med team cleaned Jake's wounds, injected fluids, and ran scans on his body. But then, something strange happened. The machines beeped, confused. His cells, they're not just human, one nurse said. They're bonded? Jake opened one eye. Bonded how? Traces of foreign energy in your blood. Her energy. You're carrying her within you. Jake looked down at his hand. Faint golden light pulsed under the skin, like fire hidden behind glass. Meanwhile, Reza lay in a different room, surrounded by machines that didn't recognize her anymore. She had become something else, something between her people and human. A fusion. The captain of the ship, a stern older man with a cybernetic eye, entered Jake's medbay. You risked your life in a forbidden zone, carried an enemy species, and somehow you survived a dryborn attack. Why? Jake sat up slowly. Because she wasn't the enemy. She is now, the captain said. Her people will see her as broken, and yours will see her as dangerous. Jake's voice hardened. She gave me her life. I won't let anyone treat her like a weapon. Outside the window, the desert disappeared beneath them as the ship rose into the sky. But even in safety, something deeper was happening. That night, as Jake rested, he dreamed. He stood in a burning desert, but the sand didn't scorch his feet. Reza was there, her hand in his. Around them, flames danced in the air and water flowed beneath their feet. You're seeing the bond, Reza's voice echoed in his mind. Flame and water. Your strength. My fire. Together, we made something that was never supposed to exist. Jake stepped forward. What does it mean? Reza's form shifted, glowing with blue fire. It means we're one. Not by blood, but by soul. Suddenly, Jake woke up, back in the medbay, but his hand was warm. He looked down and saw her, Reza, sitting beside him, her golden eyes soft. You're real, he said. She smiled. I asked them to let me see you. They all weren't happy. What now? Jake asked. She took a deep breath. I can't return to my people, and yours may never understand me. Jake sat up. Then we go where neither side rules. We find a place of our own. Reza tilted her head. Even with this bond, even knowing it may grow stronger, Jake took her hand. I poured out my last water for you. I would do it again, any day. Her smile widened, a rare softness breaking through her fire. Then let's face whatever comes, together. And somewhere deep inside both of them, the bond pulsed, flame and water, human and alien, not enemies, not strangers, but something new the galaxy had never seen. The ship landed on a floating spaceport above neutral space, far from human territories, far from Reza's homeworld. Jake and Reza stepped out into the light of 3 suns, walking through the glass corridors like 2 fugitives from 2 different worlds. But they walked together, hand in hand, marked by something deeper than species. They had escaped the desert. They had survived the dryborn. But peace had a price. News of what happened in the Drazek desert had already spread. A human explorer and an alien girl had formed an ancient bond, one that should not exist. Now, both species wanted answers, and neither wanted to listen. As Jake and Reza walked through the crowd, faces turned toward them. Some stared with awe, others with disgust. A group of human officers stood ahead, blocking the exit gate. One of them stepped forward. Jake Carter, you're ordered to return to human command for questioning. Reza tightened her grip on his hand. Another voice echoed from the side. A tall alien woman in ceremonial robes appeared, flanked by guards. Her eyes were the same golden fire as Reza's. Reza of Clan Vire. You are ordered to face judgment by the High Flame. Reza straightened. I'm no longer part of your flame. You carry our blood. The elder alien replied coldly, and you gave it to a human. That is betrayal. Jake stepped between them. She saved lives. She chose mercy. She chose weakness, the alien elder snapped. She chose love, Jake said, louder now. And you're all afraid of it. Gasps echoed in the corridor. The human officers looked uneasy. The alien guard stepped forward. Reza suddenly raised her hand. Her palm glowed with the same fire she used to fight the Dryborn. I won't be taken. Not by you, not by them. My bond is mine. The guards raised their weapons. Jake moved fast, placing himself in front of her. Stop, he shouted. You want to arrest someone? Arrest me. I gave her water. I broke the rules. Punish me. Reza's voice trembled. Don't do this. I turned to her and smiled. You gave me life, I'll give you a future. The alien elder watched in silence. Then she did something unexpected. She knelt and bowed her head. The guards froze. The human officers looked at each other, confused. You gave up your life to protect one of ours? The elder said. Even when your body was dying, you chose her. Jake said nothing, just nodded. The elder stood again. Then perhaps mercy is not weakness. Perhaps it is strength we forgot. She turned to her guards. Lower your weapons. One by one they obeyed. The human commander, after a long silence, finally said, This changes things. The bond between you two. It might be rare, but maybe it's a message. A message? Jake asked. That there's a different way. Forward, the commander said. One that doesn't end in war. Jake and Reza stood side by side as two worlds backed away. Not in surrender, but in silence. They had not chosen violence. They had chosen each other. Later, they stood on the edge of the spaceport looking out at the stars. Do you think they'll let us be? Reza asked quietly. Jake looked up at the endless sky. No, but they'll remember us. And maybe one day, others like us won't have to run. She leaned her head on his shoulder. You still don't regret giving me your last water? She asked. He smiled. Never. It wasn't just water. It was hope. You were worth it. Reza closed her eyes. Then so are you. And as two souls watched the stars, bound by flame and water, they knew they had paid the price of mercy and gained something more powerful than war. They had rewritten what love could mean among the stars.